Hello, everyone. Welcome to Developing Palates. I am Aaron Loomis, and with me is, as always, is June Liu. How you doing, June?
Good man. I'm smoking this original release Las Calaveras, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm CYOP. I smoke this.
Of
So
course.
yeah,
Can't live any other way.
that's right.
Um, so we're like a couple days out of IPCPR. How you recovering?
Dude, my feet loves me now. Man, my
Yeah.
feet were so tore up. Like you saw me, I was my dumbass decided to wear new shoes to go to the trade show,
Yep.
and I was even wearing those Dr. Scholl's inlets,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that it was gonna help. It didn't help,
Yep.
and I got big ass blisters. But you did you seemed like a champ, man. You didn't, you never complained. You drank like a pint of water a day.
Yep. You gotta break those Dr. Scholl's in for like a year, and then you'll be in good shape.
I'll wear them next year.
That's right.
No,
I don't know. I'd dump those shoes though. I'd get something more comfortable.
yeah,
All right, so the this video that we're doing right now is a little different. So we're actually doing an interview, and that's you may have heard of it, may not have heard of it, but IPCPR this year did a contest called the Inside the Box, and basically what it was is that they were running the contest where you could submit an essay as to why you would want to go to the IPCPR trade show, and they would pick a winner from that, and that person would be able to bring a guest with them to go to the IPCPR for a couple days. I think they paid for flights, maybe hotels. We'll find that out in a second. But and then you get to attend the trade show for a couple days, run around, meet a bunch of manufacturers, go to the big IPCPR bash that they throw. Just kind of get the full experience that a consumer normally wouldn't get. So the interview we're doing today is with Ryan Akins, and Ryan is the Inside the Box winner this year, which is the first year of the contest. So welcome Ryan to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. Um, so tell us a little bit about how you found out about the contest.
So I'm on Reddit, the R Cigars subforum,
Hmm.
and Kip from IPCPR, Kip Talley, posted probably about 2 months ago that they were doing this contest. He posted a link to their website. They had set up a separate page for it, and said, "Hey, want to make sure everybody on this sub knows about this." And so I went to the website, entered my info. You had to do a little essay and whatnot. I think it was like 500 characters or something like that or more.
Hmm.
And so I just basically put in, what it would mean to me to go and stuff like that. And then they got a little over 10,000 entries
Wow.
and ended up selecting my essay out of that. So I took my dad. They did pay for flights and the hotel at the Treasure Island. We were up there
Hmm.
for a couple days, and
Nice.
then the tickets to the show and to the Altadis Bash.
Cool. So what did you write about in your entry?
Uh, well, I don't want to give away the master blueprint. I've talked to a
Oh.
lot of the IPCPR folks about that, and they were, I thought initially they would post my essay, which I
Uh-huh.
thought would be really cool. Because by the time it got picked, I kind of remembered what I wrote about, but I did it on my phone, and so I didn't have a copy of it, and I just, kind of banged it out and sent it in, and I just basically wrote about what it would mean to me, what the cigar community means to me, the type of stuff I would want to do while I was there, and some stuff about kind of wanting to know more about all the FDA stuff that's going on. I haven't read the document, but I'm really curious how all that is going to end up affecting us. And basically that I also needed a vacation, so it was a
Right.
good timing, So
Sure.
right in the middle of the summer, it's pretty hot and humid here in Arkansas, and so Vegas was a nice change from that too.
Nice. So you had to take a guest with you. You said you brought your dad. What?
Yep.
How'd you go about choosing who you were going to take with you?
Well, I knew I would take my dad. He uh, he was in the Air Force, and that's kind of where he started smoking cigars years and years ago. He was telling some folks at the show, the type of stuff they used to smoke when he was overseas, and that's kind of how I got into cigars. I had a friend when we lived overseas when I was younger who smoked like Black and Milds basically,
Right.
and I just never really wanted to do any like everybody else I knew smoked cigarettes, and I just kind of thought that was nasty. So I started with the black and milds, and then moved up from there, which was good. And I'm not smoking black and milds anymore. So.
Right. Good
But
choice.
yeah, it was easy to pick my dad. We like spending time together, smoking cigars and drinking bourbon, stuff like that. So
Right.
it was pretty cool.
So what did your dad say when you told him that you won this contest and you were going to take him with you?
It was crazy. He actually, I got a little worried because they were going on vacation in the same area, and so it
Uh,
kind of lined up to where their vacation and then this vacation was like perfect. So he had like one
okay.
day in between.
Nice.
And I panicked for a minute because I thought, oh, if he's not going to go, I'm really going to have to, I didn't want to pick one friend and not another friend type of thing.
Right.
So nobody can get mad when you choose your dad.
Exactly.
But it was great to spend a lot of time with him, and I knew, even if the show was nothing like I imagined, I knew at least we would have a good time. I've never been to Vegas, so that was a big deal too. Everything there's so big and flashy and fun and whatnot. So I knew we'd have a blast either way.
Yeah, so it's kind of double whammy for you, getting to go to the trade show and then getting to go to Vegas for the first time is two big
Absolutely.
experiences. That's pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So once you knew that you were going to take your dad with you, kind of what was the thought process on what you thought the show was going to be like, or what was kind of your preparation for going to the show?
Um, well, usually I stay really up on the new releases and kind of all the chatter and all that, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, Stogie Geeks and Half Ashed and all these guys, and
Hmm.
so I feel like I have a decent amount of knowledge on cigars, but I really didn't read anything this year because I kind of thought I didn't want to have any preconceived notions or anything. I just
Right.
wanted to go and just enjoy it. So I still don't really know a lot of the new cigars except for what I saw at the show. I'm still kind
Sure.
of catching up on all that. But there were certain folks I wanted to meet, certain questions I wanted to ask. Um, I had like a million questions when Kip emailed me.
Uh-huh.
What is this going to be? What can I do? What can we not do?
Right.
I kind of hated to keep sending them all emails, but I just had so many questions, and so I just started writing them all down in my phone.
Yeah.
And most of them I got pretty much figured out before we actually stepped on the show floor.
Cool.
So it was pretty good.
So how did IPCPR kind of set it up with you, like on kind of what the plan was going to be when you got there, and kind of what the itinerary was going to be like?
A lot of it was still kind of up in the air. I talked to Rachel a lot. She was Rachel Hyde was my kind of link up person, I guess, and so she met us the first day and got us our passes, and kind of said we're going to get a little bit of a tour and kind of walk through everywhere. But really, we didn't really know. When we got to Vegas on Tuesday, and our passes were for Wednesday and Thursday.
Hmm.
So we had kind of that afternoon and evening, and we ended up going to meet up with some folks from the R Cigar sub at Enfuego, Vegas,
Right.
and kind of just walked in there. Didn't realize they were having a Leaf and Bean event, so that was really cool. Island Jim was there. We met a lot of those guys um, from there, and just kind of got to hang out, and that was a blast in itself, and we hadn't even been to the trade show yet.
Right.
But we didn't really know much, I guess, about it until the day of. We
Okay.
just knew we're going to be here 10 a.m., we're going to meet Rachel, she's going to get us our passes, and then that was pretty much all we knew.
Right. So okay, so now let's say you're Tuesday morning, right? Or was that Wednesday morning?
Well, Wednesday morning, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock, you get your passes. What happens next?
Man, it was so big. Like everybody kept telling us how huge this trade show was, and Rachel was giving us all these statistics about Vegas and how large this convention center is and all that. And when you kind of step into it, I still think you don't really realize how big it is.
Hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, okay, this is cool. And even looking at the whole thing and realizing all the numbers behind it, you don't realize until you walk around there for a couple hours. And we were there, I think, 8 hours that day.
Right.
And by the time we were done, it's like we still hadn't seen half the trade show.
Hmm.
And even after the next day, which was I think 3 hours, or actually it was 4 hours for us, but I think it was
Hmm.
3 hours, open. There were still booths I was walking by that I was like, oh, I can't believe we missed this over here. We didn't talk to this person over there, and
Right.
stuff like that. And there's still so much stuff that I missed that I'm seeing on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah, don't feel bad. I mean, June and I were there for the full 3.5 days, and we still missed a bunch of people. So I don't think you had a chance in hell to do it in a day and a half. So,
No,
it's,
I put in a very good effort though. We
yeah.
met with almost everybody we wanted to meet. We got a lot of really great pictures. Everybody was super nice to us. All the folks at IPCPR were really great. All the manufacturers, a lot of them were really supportive of us being there.
Mhm.
We really tried to kind of, back off from their business that they were doing there.
Right.
I really wanted to make sure we were respectful, and one of the big things that I was hoping, and I don't have any information on this, but is that hopefully IPCPR will do this again next year.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to make sure we didn't screw anything up,
Right.
for next year. And
Yeah.
so that was really good. But I mean, we got to it was like being a kid in a candy store, which I feel that way anytime I go into a humidor. But
Right.
it's like we're walking around, and I'm like, I think that's Willie Herrera. Like, I'm pretty sure that's him, and
Yeah.
we're just getting to see all these people, and it was just really amazing.
So, what was the first booth that you visited?
Um, the first booth we visited on purpose was because you're walking through and people start talking to you and stuff like that.
Right.
But the first one we really visited on purpose was Cuba Raqueño,
Mhm.
Juan and Bill. I
Right.
had heard them in a lot of interviews, and I thought they sounded like just super cool guys. And my dad is actually law enforcement, as are they. So
Mhm.
there was a lot of like common ground, and I really wanted to meet those guys. And also, I actually had not and still haven't had their cigars yet.
Right.
So I'm a little behind on a couple things from last year. So I really wanted to, just kind of kick things off and hang out with them for a little bit. And they were super cool with us. We hung out there for probably 20 minutes, got a bunch of photos. They asked us as many questions as we asked them,
Right.
and just kind of, just kicked it, which was really awesome.
And
Did you
knowing those guys, I'm sure they gave you guys plenty of cigars to smoke, right?
They gave us a few, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
did you smoke them yet?
No, I've heard so many things about a lot of cigars at the show, just from interviews and talking to people and stuff like that. So I pretty much brought everything home. I only smoked one cigar I got at the show, and I'd actually had it before. It was one of the Ezra Zion Tantrums. So I kind of knew what that one was about, and so I smoked that one on the show floor. And then I smoked the new Oscar at that event, the Leaf and Bean event the night before.
Mhm.
But other than that, I've kind of was going to leave everything alone for like probably about 3 weeks. So I've got all my Bovedas and all that stuff, in there, and kind of just letting that stuff acclimate a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, in Vegas it's so dry. Just
Hmm.
kind of the shock to the cigars and getting them back, and kind of normal procedure. Once you buy something online or something like that and it gets shipped to you, you want to kind of let it rest a little bit and get acclimated.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I always usually at least wait about 2 weeks, and sometimes even longer if it's like a really nice cigar. I don't want to screw it up. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy because all the samples that we brought back, I cleared one of my 300 count desktops, and I threw it all in there, and the relative humidity was reading about 57, 58 for like 2 days straight. So they were pretty dry. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what were some of the highlights from attending the show itself? Like maybe some of the booths that maybe exceeded your expectations, or someone that you were really looking forward to meet that you got a chance to meet.
There were a lot of really amazing moments. I got to meet Chris and Kyle from Ezra Zion, and kind of a highlight from that. I'm on Instagram, and so I was talking to Kyle. Chris was like kind of man in the booth, and
Hmm.
just kind of telling him I was a big fan. I'd had a lot of their cigars, not everything, but I was kind of telling him what I liked and whatnot. And Kyle asked me what my Instagram handle was, and I told him, and he was like, "I know you, bro." And so we kind of kicked it a little bit. He gave me a big hug, and that was really cool. And then we got some really great pictures with them. Also, I really wanted to meet Kyle from Warped,
Hmm.
and also Nick Melillo, and those guys were super busy the entire show.
Right.
We finally made it around. We actually met Kyle for a half second as we were leaving the show on Tuesday, just for a little bit, and as we were walking out, we talked. But then the next day, We went by Nick's booth probably 3 times, and
Mm-hmm.
he was just so busy, we just were not able to talk to him. And we went by Kyle's booth again, and he actually had a free second. So we talked for a couple minutes. He gave us some stickers and some cigars and stuff like that. And he asked who we were looking forward to meeting. I told him Nick, and he told him I had an idea for an Instagram post. I know Nick's a big Bob Marley fan. I've got Bob tatted on my leg,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wanted to get like a pose where we were like kind of in like a squatting position, and we had Bob and then his Upsetters logo and him, and just kind of do that. And Kyle was like, "Oh, he would love that," and
Yeah.
so we were like, "Yeah, he's been really busy though." And Kyle was like, "Nah, follow me." So he left his booth, which I thought was awesome. He said he hadn't been able to leave very much, and walked us over there. Introduced us to Nick. We got a couple group photos, and he was like, "All right, I got to get back. Here you go." And so we talked to Nick for a little bit, got some good pictures and whatnot, and that was just like the coolest thing ever.
Right.
To meet both of those guys. I'm such a big fan of both of their stuff.
Did
Cool.
you have an expectation of what those guys are going to be like before you met them? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I told a lot of the manufacturers there, I feel like I have talked to them before almost because I do listen to so much media with Stogie Geeks and Cigar Jukebox, Half-Ashed, and all the Cigar Chat, Sharing Our Pairings, all these other podcasts I listen to. I felt like a lot of my questions were based on those interviews and stuff I had kind of thought of and heard already. So a lot of them were, exactly as cool as I thought they were going to be,
nice.
which was really awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we got to meet up on Thursday
Mm-hmm.
at the Tatawahe booth, and you get to chat with Pete for a little while. What was that like?
Oh, it was super cool. He was really gracious with his time. I know he's a busy guy. They had just won the Best in Show Medium booth, and he was kind of carrying that sign around. And I know he had a lot going on, but he spent probably 10 minutes or so with us, and told us some cool stories that I won't repeat, and some stuff like that. So it was really really special. We also got to meet Don Pepin that morning.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really awesome idea to take a picture, basically with my dad and my father, and then
Mhm.
also Jaime and Don Pepin, my father, like
Right.
in one picture.
Nice.
And I was just going to caption it like squared, and that was going to
Right.
be it. And I was super excited about that. And we had kind of set that up for the morning of Thursday, but I guess Jaime he left town that night kind of beforehand unexpectedly. So we didn't get the whole picture, but we did get to get a picture with Don Pepin, and then we got to chat with Pete, which was really great too.
Did you smoke with my father while you took that picture?
No, actually, I knew you were going to
man.
ask
Please,
that. I smoke a lot of their cigars, and if I had like a Connecticut or something, I really would have. I do a lot of morning smokes, and I was smoking a Padron Damaso that morning.
Mhm.
So the pictures with Don Pepin and Pete Johnson, I've got the Damaso in hand, and that's an awesome cigar. So I was really excited to smoke that
Nice.
on the show floor.
So I'm not going to ask you to name any names, but were there any booths that maybe disappointed you at all?
No, not really. There were a few that were surprising, and a few that were just amazing.
Mhm.
That I just couldn't even kind of wrap my head around. There were some the locations of a few of them that were kind of odd.
Right.
Like there were a few that we were looking for that. I won't name the name, but there was one pretty major boutique manufacturer I was really looking for, and I had not seen him the entire show. And I finally asked somebody, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they're all the way over in the corner, over here." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." And walked over that way, and I thought we were here before. Like, how did we miss this?
Right.
But some of the booths that I think should be front and center right there were way off to the sides. And
Yeah.
a lot of those guys on the sides miss a lot of traffic. So
Right.
we got some of our best time kind of in that outer ring, of the show, which was really great. A lot of really small manufacturers, boutiques, and stuff that even I wasn't familiar with. I'm like huge fans of now
Mhm.
because the amount of time they spent with us and going over their cigars and just being generally really cool guys.
Yeah, it's odd that there'll be like a cigar manufacturer that's in between a bunch of pipe manufacturers, and you're
Mhm.
like, how'd you get this spot? It
Right.
just doesn't match. So
Yeah. And the pipe experience was a little different. I smoke a pipe on occasion. I don't know that much about it. I mean, I enjoy it, but that's about it. And I actually took my pipe and kind of thought I would walk around on the show floor, but it was hard enough to keep a cigar lit, actually, as
Right.
much as we were talking and all that. And I thought, oh, I'm glad I didn't try this, with the pipe. But there were not as many front and center pipe booths. I remember seeing pipes at the Drew Estate booth.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking by a few of them, that we kind of stopped and chatted with real quick, but I didn't get as much FaceTime, I guess, with the pipe community as I would have liked to.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the cigars are tough enough to get through all the manufacturers. So if you're trying to
Yep.
like balance out with the two, it's it's
Yeah.
even that much harder. So
Well, and one of the other bonuses I didn't realize, I mean, I knew, is I wanted to meet a lot of these online media folks.
right.
So you guys were on my list. I really wanted to meet Cigar Coop. Unfortunately, I did not get to meet him. I was looking for him seriously, though. I was asking many, many people about it. I got to meet Robbie and John, Cigar Surgeon, and Logan from SigFed.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet Dave Garofalo, which was amazing. We
Yeah.
went into his booth and we were like, hey, I'm a big fan, and he was really cool. We got to meet just so many people that were really great, with their time, and that's kind of, I enjoy a lot of that stuff anyway. So that was a really major highlight. I mean, there's too many to list, but
Yeah.
there were quite a few of them.
Speaking
Yeah.
of Coop, we saw him. So we met up with you on the last day, right? On day
Yes,
4 of the show.
Thursday.
So
Yeah.
at the end of that, I guess half day of the show, we saw Coop, and then we were so busy. We were like, "Hey, did you get a chance to meet Ryan, the contestant winner of IPCPR contest?"
Oh, nice.
No, man, but he really wanted to meet you, and
Nice.
you should reach out to him. He's a super cool guy, man. Like,
I'm one step ahead of you. I just sent him an email about 30 minutes ago, and he already responded back. He was like, "Yeah, really sorry I didn't get to meet you." And he seems like he is the busiest man at the show a lot of times. So
he's a very hard-working guy. The dude doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
He'll like pull over on the road on the drive back to North Carolina, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then he'll start posting stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I just got a hold of him, so I'm kind of just chatting with him through email a little bit.
Cool.
right on.
So outside of the show, there's a fair number of after events. So you already talked
yeah.
about kind of doing the Reddit meetup on Tuesday night. So you still had Wednesday night, and you stayed over Thursday night as well.
We did. Thursday was not part of the IPCPR package, but
Right.
we, with being in Little Rock, all the flights back were super early Thursday, and so I didn't want to miss an entire day at the show.
Right.
So we coordinated with Rachel from IPCPR to get a. Basically, we paid for an extra night at Treasure Island and had them kind of set up to where we didn't have to move rooms.
Right.
So we stayed the extra day, and it was really great. Wednesday, we went to the Altadis Cigar Bash, which was at the Light nightclub, and that was unreal. I'm not a big nightclub guy, so
Right.
it's not my scene. But the lights, and Eddie Money was playing. And he was smoking a cigar on stage, which was really cool. There were just cigar boxes on every table, just take what you want type of thing. It was a semi-open bar, which was pretty cool. They did not give me what I asked for, but we figured it out.
You asked for Mountain Dew?
No, I asked for Hennessy, and the guy was like, "Nah, man, I can't do it." And I was like, "What do you mean? I thought it was open bar." But he gave me Cruze, I think was what he said, and I said, "Well, how was that?" He was like, I was like, "Oh, great, let me have that." But it was actually pretty good. But we got to meet Omar from Fratello there, which we did not get by his booth. So, I saw him, and I had just enough time to shake his hand, take a picture, and tell him, like, the Boxer is just an amazing cigar. I really love that cigar.
Right.
So that was really cool. I realized I was standing on my tippy toes when I took a picture with him, because he is a tall guy.
Yeah.
And then we saw Rocky again. We had saw him at the show, but we saw him again at that event. And I actually met a lot of IPCPR folks at that Altadis Bash, which was cool. My dad had a blast. He loved the entire thing. So that was really awesome. And then we ended up at the Romacraft event, the Romacraft Hospitality Suite, which that was I was bugging everybody. Like that was my number one thing I wanted to do while I was in Vegas. I was like, we have got to get in to Skip and Michael's suite and hang out up there. So I had like 15 people trying to hook me up with how to get in there,
Right.
and we managed to get in. We got to meet Skip and Michael, which was awesome. I
Mhm.
met the guys from Fable Cigars, met Cigar Hustlers, and a couple other folks, and then a lot of great media folks as well at that. And we
Mhm.
just, stayed there and closed that place down, which was really
Yeah,
great.
that's a pretty intimate event. It's small scale, so you're really you're really close proximity to everybody else. So
Oh yeah,
easy to
absolutely.
start up conversations and things like that.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
Well, and they had a DJ there. I
Uh-huh.
don't know who it was, but he was doing an awesome job. I'm a big hip hop guy. I know Skip is a big hip hop guy,
Yeah, I'm
and he
pretty
was
sure
playing.
Skip's got the playlist there. So
Yeah, I was like, I walked by at one point and I was like, dude, this is fantastic.
yeah,
So that was really great, and just everybody was really awesome at that event. So
yeah.
it was pretty sweet.
So what did you end up doing Thursday night?
Um, we were gonna do nothing. Honestly, we were gonna go back to the hotel and just go to sleep
Right.
because I did not sleep very much and I need a lot of sleep. So we ended up hanging out at the pool for a little bit. We actually got to stay a little bit late on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We had staff passes, so we got in a couple minutes early. We left like probably an hour after the show closed, so we kind of
Right.
got to hang out and see how they took everything down. And
Mm-hmm.
that's actually we met Jonathan Drew at the very, very end. We're literally about to walk out the door,
Okay.
and we were like, "Oh, Jonathan Drew is here!" And so we took a quick picture with him. We ended up hanging out at the pool. Kind of ran by, got some souvenirs. We ended up down at Gillies. It's like a country western,
That,
bar down
that's
there.
in Treasure Island, right?
Yeah, that's in Treasure Island. So we were gonna go to Senor Frogs, I
Mm-hmm.
think, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
Senor Frogs was. I was like, I told my dad, nah, I don't think so. There was, crazy lights and loud music and people doing crazy stuff. So we're like, nah, let's go somewhere a little quieter, which was the Crazy Country Western Bar. They had line dancing and there was a concert going on. They had a bull you could ride. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
place was crazy too, but a little bit quieter. And then each evening, I was doing these recaps for the R Cigars sub.
Right.
So I pretty much the previous nights at like 1 o'clock when I got back to the hotel, I spent about an hour doing all that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I lit up a Swamp Thing Robusto
Mm-hmm.
and stepped outside, had a Crown and Coke that we got from the restaurant, and probably took about 45 minutes on that one, just kind of sitting outside enjoying the Vegas heat and
Right.
going from there.
Yeah. That's cool. So if you had a chance to go again, is there anything that you would do differently?
That's a really interesting question. Hmm. There's not a whole lot that I didn't get to do. Obviously you want to fit more relaxing time in there. I feel like we were just 100 miles an hour, especially on that last day. We covered as much ground in those 4 hours that we did the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't walk anywhere really. And Laura was really great from IPCPR walking us around, and
Yeah.
she made some cool introductions. She got a lot of photos on her camera. She knows I'm a big Instagram guy, so every time I was like, "Hey, here's my phone. Take some
Right.
pictures with mine." Just kind of, I guess, not trying to cram everything in, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that you can really do that, in Vegas. I mean, it's not a relaxing town, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could sit by the pool and stuff like that if you don't have
Hmm.
other things going on. But I mean, when you're there for the trade show, it's really a consuming time, and then you just kind of get sucked into all the kind of tangible events that are going on. So whether
Hmm.
it's a party or it's back to the Circle Bar at the Palazzo or the Venetian, just
Hmm.
those things kind of, and it's like I think once you get into the flow of it, you don't really want it to stop. You're kind of just like meeting all these cool people, hanging out,
Yep.
having conversations, talking, drinking, whatever. It just like it's an amazing time. But then you come to the end of it, and sometimes it's like, yeah, that was enough time. It's ready to go back to reality, so I can sleep more than 3 or 4 hours a night,
Oh yeah.
do that kind of thing. So
Yeah, and I can't tell you. I mean, we must have spent a fortune on coffee while we were there. I mean, like I said, I drink a little bit of coffee, but we were at Starbucks like multiple times a day.
Uh-huh.
We saw the guys from Twin Engine Coffee on the floor.
Right.
So, actually, I take that back. We saw the ladies of Twin Engine. I didn't get to meet Colin.
Okay.
He was walking around or something. But we were grabbing coffee from every booth that had coffee,
Right.
and it was exactly like you're saying. We just kept seeing people wanting to do stuff. I feel like we paced ourselves pretty well. We
Hmm.
didn't overdo it any nights. I actually didn't smoke that many cigars.
Right.
I think I want to say it was 7, maybe from the time we landed to the time we took off,
Hmm.
which is maybe 1 or 2 more than normal in that normal time. So I
Right.
thought I did pretty well there. But yeah, you see so many people, and I was running on coffee and adrenaline the entire time.
Yeah.
But I only yawned once on the trade floor, though. I was pretty proud of myself, and
That's
I
okay. I
caught
mean,
myself, and I was like, I need to wake up.
you get when you get to some of those booths first thing in the morning, you kind of get to see who was out late the night before, and
Hmm.
it happens quite a bit. So there's
Yeah.
there's there's some people that are famous for that.
Oh
So
yes, I
yeah.
noticed, and I've heard, and my lips are sealed. So
Yeah.
Did
So
you,
I oh go ahead, June.
I was going to say, within all the coffee that you were taking in,
hmm
did you realize any of the booths that had alcohol there? Did you take in any of those? Because you could have
um,
done coffee, booze throughout the whole day too. That would have probably got you amped up.
yeah. Well, I know Rocky's booth was amazing. He was like the life of the show. Most booths have some sort of barrier up, I think, to keep the show out of the booth. It's a more intimate setting. And I was telling somebody today, Rocky's booth was the show, essentially. There
Hmm.
were tons of people in there. He had celebrities in there. He had a full bar in there, and all kinds of cigars and all kinds of stuff, mostly in display cases. But um, there were quite a few that were pretty crazy. I think I may get this wrong, but we were at I think the Hammer and Sickle booth,
Yeah.
and we were standing there talking to them, and this woman walked up and asked my dad, "Oh, would you like some vodka?" And
Hmm.
he was like, "It's like noon, or I don't know what it was, 11 o'clock or whatever," and he was like, "No," and she turned to me and she's like, "Sir, would you like some vodka?" And I was like, "Absolutely,
Yeah.
sounds great." So we actually both got him and then just poured him into one, but we did a little bit of that, but not too much.
They
Yeah.
did have orange juice. So you could have just had a screwdriver and told your dad it's
Oh, that would have been
orange
great,
juice.
yeah.
So,
Well, I think I had that with that must have been Wednesday actually, because we actually ate on the show floor
okay.
Wednesday, and that's what I needed water. I mean, I needed the hydration, but
Right.
I had the other clear liquid, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was working pretty well.
Nice.
Nice. So I think I saw somebody mention it in one of your recaps on Reddit, but I was going to ask you anyway. So you're a consumer that's going to the show. The show is not typically open to consumers. It's typically manufacturers, retailers,
hmm
manufacturers of accessory products or products that are provided to the manufacturers,
hmm
and media.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on consumers being able to attend the show?
Yeah, that actually came up a few times. I think part of what I wanted to do with the recaps was I think a lot of people don't fully understand what IPCPR is and
Hmm.
what the trade show is.
Right.
And so my thought is kind of what we were saying earlier. Manufacturers and retailers are there to do business.
Hmm.
Media is there to cover things, to bring out news, get samples to do reviews of, connect, things like that. There's not really a good place for consumers there. I feel
Hmm.
like if they opened, one thing that was mentioned on one of my recaps was one of the guys on the R Cigars sub mentioned, if they would sell tickets or something,
Hmm.
it would be amazing. I think the cigar heaven was the term used, for
Right.
somebody like me, which is absolutely true. But I think if they continue this contest, they should definitely keep it smaller. Because I don't want to get in the way of anything, and I feel
Hmm.
like consumers, if you just open and said we're going to sell 200 tickets, I feel like the manufacturers and the retailers would probably push back a little bit
Right.
because you'd start getting in the way of stuff. And there were people we weren't able to meet for that reason, and I don't have any issue with that.
Right.
We were kind of just able to be there kind of in stealth mode and come by when they're not busy.
Sure.
Uh, but really, I mean, you can go to Vegas, you can go to the after parties, you can meet manufacturers.
Hmm.
I go to a lot of events. My local shop is West End Cigars here in Little Rock, and
Right.
Brandon, the shop owner, and Steve do a really good job. They have events pretty much every month. And so I've met like Fred Rui, I've met Sam Lucia, I've met reps for Crown Heads, a whole bunch of different companies that I've kind of got to chop it up a little bit with and ask some good questions to. So I think there's other opportunities for that, but I do hope they do another giveaway because I think it was amazing. It was an amazing experience, and I
Right.
would love for more people to get to do that, kind of that behind the scenes. And we joked with Laura, hopefully if they do this next year, she gets to hang out with somebody that's having as much fun as we were.
Yeah.
And she had a blast following my dad and I around and hanging out and meeting some new people and
Mhm.
introducing us to people she knew and kind of some stuff like that. So hopefully it's as fun next year as it has been this year.
Yeah. And just basically from talking to you and seeing you at the show and talking to Laura a little bit, I think you're a good ambassador for the contest and you and your dad. So I think that goes a long ways for them to consider doing it again next year. Not that they'll necessarily expand it to more people, but just as if they can continue the contest going on. I mean, I think in that kind of small, a pair of people doing it, I don't think it's a big deal. But like you said, if they opened it up to consumers, I think it's, I don't mean to sound bad, but you're not going to be able to vet everybody that's going if you kind of open it up, and just how the way people are, they'll get into the way and they'll cause
Hmm.
issues. I mean,
Yeah.
even when consumers are not allowed to go in years past, there's been theft issues, and that could be either between retailers that are doing it,
Hmm.
other manufacturers, media. It could be anybody. I mean,
I've heard about that. Yeah.
they try their best to vet everybody, but you even though it's a microcosm of people that are attending, like you still have all those same groups that are out in the rest of the
Hmm.
population that are just kind of condensed in the population that's there. So you're still going to kind of have that, but I think if you open it up too much,
Hmm.
you're raising the possibility of some
Yeah.
issues. So
Well, so and one of the to kind of build off that, I had heard a lot of that, and I definitely didn't want to be a part of anything that was negative.
mhm.
But we noticed when we were at Caldwell's booth, which he's another tall guy as well.
Yeah.
Um, we actually got a good picture of my dad and I on our tiptoes, and you can see that entire frame with the way Laura captured it. But I noticed we took a picture with him. We were talking to a couple of the reps there, and I said, hey, I noticed you've got the All Out Kings, boxes over here.
Mhm.
Do you guys are those coming out soon? I hadn't heard very much about them
Right.
since they announced them. That's the Drew Estate collaboration, and he was like, "Oh yeah, these are our charity auction. They had all been signed by JD and Willie and Robert Caldwell as well." And
Mhm.
he was like, "Oh, have you checked them out?" And so we opened the boxes, and there were singles in there, and more than a few of the boxes were half empty. And
Oh
so I was
wow.
kind of like, he said, "Yeah, I think we've had some people who have been just picking stuff up," and
Hmm.
um, even though that wasn't something that we did, I felt kind of bad. It's like these are going to be auctioned off, and I mean
Yeah.
Right.
that's not good at all on any level for somebody to just say, "Hey, I got this cigar before it's out." I also noticed one of the more interesting things that I noticed is a lot of the product was staged when we
Hmm.
were there. So, and that like blew my mind. There were boxes that, you kind of go to touch and pick up, and you could like turn them upside down, and the cigars didn't fall out. And it
Yeah.
was like, what in the world is this? But I did not expect it. It makes total sense. But I just, I didn't think about it. It's like
Yeah.
staging a house, I guess. You want to make it look as real as possible. And they were real cigars. It's just
Hmm.
they were, kind of glued in there essentially,
Yeah. And
which was interesting.
I think this year that was more prevalent because of a few reasons. One is that there's a lot of product that was being rushed out, so they may
Hmm.
not have had a full box of those cigars. so they
Yep.
needed to kind of make it look like they had a full box.
Right.
There was even some instances where people had told us, those aren't the real cigars; those are just other cigars
Oh.
that we put the bands on,
Okay.
and it's for presentation.
Mhm.
But then what you were saying is before is also true is you can prevent theft that way
Mhm.
by having it kind of out in the open. People can easily see, take pictures, things like that, but you're
Right.
not at risk of someone just coming up and grabbing a fiver out of the box and kind of walking
Mhm.
off. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Yep.
mean, there's stage stuff this year, and I think a lot of that is just due to supply issues in regards to getting the actual product to the
Mhm.
show and things like that.
Well, and all the FDA stuff as well. That was a big thing. We talked to a lot of manufacturers. We talked to a lot of retailers at the Leaf event, and different stages of being there. How these regulations are coming, how it's going to affect things. Possible ways around things. Everybody's kind of brainstorming a lot of stuff. So, having not yet read the document, I do
Mhm.
intend to read it. It was really interesting to get a lot of that. Information.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stances on what manufacturers are doing and kind of what they think is going to actually happen. So some are more optimistic than others. Some are pretty pessimistic. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to see the different dynamics on how that's working. So, but there
Hmm.
was still
Yeah.
there was a big push. Like I think most everybody thought that there was going to be a lot of new products trying to get out before the August 8 deadline. There's a few that were holding back that said, we're just going to go through the normal, whatever the procedures are, we'll go through that and release on a normal schedule. But I think that was a small percentage compared to the people that were, pushing anything that they really had in the
Hmm.
hopper. They were ready to kind of get it out and
Yeah.
at least in some sort of a small fashion to be
Hmm.
able to fit whatever the criteria that they think is going to be make it
Yeah.
legitimate for that it's made the deadline. So it'll be interesting to see once things get a little deeper with the lawsuit and once the FDA figures out what they actually need to do to make this work. So we'll kind of see how that works.
Yeah. I'm really excited to kind of see how everything goes down and what eventually happens and things like that.
Yeah. June, did you have any other questions for Ryan?
Yeah, Ron, you were mentioning West End cigars earlier.
Mhm.
Do you live in Little Rock?
I live
Down there?
in Sherwood. It's like it's in the metro area of Little Rock. So
Oh,
it's about maybe 20-25 minutes depending on time of day to get over there.
yeah. What's the cigar culture like over there?
It's pretty good. We've had a few shops. There's one shop here that's been around for a long time. It's got kind of a core cast of regulars. Usually that shop, I'll go in every now and then. I actually haven't been in there in a while, but I'll kind of go in, buy cigars, and I kind of bounce, just because I don't know everybody there, and it's a little intimidating to see people who have been there for 30 years, smoking cigars and pipes,
Hmm.
always there. The other shop, though, West End, has really kind of bridged a nice gap. They've got a pretty good boutique selection, lot of foot traffic. Some people just come in and leave, and other people stay and hang out. So I've gotten to know a lot of the regulars and stuff there. And then, like I said, there's a lot of events. So I'm always posting stuff on our cigars, and I've had more than a few people say, "Oh, I wish my shop did more events." We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere here in Central Arkansas. There's 3 or 4 shops in the northwest portion of the state. Um, I don't know if they do a ton of events, but from what I've heard, it's not near as many as Brandon does down here at West End.
Yeah, that's when you were mentioning that you guys have about an event every month. I mean, that
Hmm.
is so much more than what we have here
Yeah.
in California. By the way, Aaron and I live only like half an hour away from each other.
Oh, okay.
We probably have an event. I don't know, probably more on a quarterly basis than
Yep.
monthly, and
Hmm.
so traffic is not. I assume is not as good as what you guys have down there. But
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And it's literally once a month. That's not an estimate. It's generally about mid-month we have something. LFD did the tasting event that they're doing around the country.
Hmm.
Uh, it may not be the first one, but one of the very first. They said we were the test shop
Nice.
for it, so that was really cool. Like I said, Sam Lucia's been in there. We've had events from Ezra Zion recently. Alec Bradley, Ashton's been in there a few times. We had an Avo event, which was really cool a couple months ago. That's a brand that I'm a little newer to, but
Hmm.
really appreciating. And so, a lot of those things, a lot of people will do online sales. where they'll buy a lot of cigars online, and I always try to buy more local if that's possible. So either going to visit my dad in Tennessee, we'll go to like Franklin Cigar. They've got a totally different selection. They actually won one of the Golden Band Awards the other night, which was really cool from Davidoff. But I always like to kind of show up at the local spots and support them whenever I can, kind of keep that culture alive and, keep Brandon's lights on as well. I'm
Yeah,
sure he appreciates that.
yeah. You seem like you're a cigar geek that knows all the right etiquette, and IPCPR they definitely found a good first candidate to take to the show. So
Yeah, I appreciate it.
yeah.
Laura kept telling us that they may have done a little online stalking and perhaps tried to pick a photogenic couple of guys.
There you go.
Nice.
It doesn't hurt that you'll be posting a lot of stuff on Instagram and promoting the
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was really cool. I met a lot of folks at the show that I know from Instagram. They're not manufacturers. They're just other cigar geeks either that work at shops or, actually some people with IPCPR. We met Christine on the last day as we were leaving the show. It was like literally one of the last folks we met, Christine Morgan, I think, and she. I was kind of looking at her and I thought, you look really familiar to me, but I was thinking, there's no way I know her. And she kind of said the same thing, and we figured out we've been following each other on Instagram for like 4 years, and I didn't know she was with IPCPR, so I was like, oh, okay, so we were taking pictures with all the Instagram people, and that was really cool. And then all the Our Cigars folks that we met up with that first night, I think there were 8 or 9 of us there, which was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, if you can get a good amount of experience just going to Vegas or wherever the trade show is being held. If you're like a member of Our Cigars on Reddit, BOTL.org does a HERF usually, and then
Dojo and all these other places.
Dojo's is the best out of those, I believe. I think it's the most well attended, and it's really Eric from Cigar Dojo does a fantastic job, along with Eric Espinosa, on putting on a good event. So, I mean, you can always go attend those HERFs. You'll run into manufacturers, other retailers, other people from whatever forum or group it is. You'll have a good time, and it's a good time to meet people you wouldn't normally meet. And since everybody in the industry is really converging on that one point, the volume that you'll get to do is something you won't be able to do any other time, unless you're just attending event after event in your local area. So it's even if you're not in the industry, I'd recommend trying to get out there sometimes just to experience kind of what goes on outside the show.
Yeah, and we do on Our Cigars, we do a lot of virtual HERFs
There you go.
where we're just on Google Hangouts just like this. I know Dojo, I think their original tagline was like "Never smoke alone again."
Yep.
A lot of that stuff. We do a program on Our Cigars that's what we call the Adopt a Newbie program, and so it's been going, I think, for a year now, and I've dabbled in it a little bit. But one of the things that behind that is you get so much more experience in tasting notes and just enjoyment of cigars by smoking with other people and smoking the same cigar, and so that way I can say, oh, I can taste a little bit of a kind of a woody note, and then sometimes it's the power of suggestion, but I think a lot of the experience of smoking cigars is those notes and memories and flavors and the way that your palate works, and that stuff is always a really good way to go.
Right.
What are you most looking forward to smoking from the samples you brought back home?
One of the ones that I was really looking forward to is the Yamasa, the new Davidoff.
Okay.
We picked up, I don't remember who, somebody was like, oh, if you go to the Davidoff booth, they'll give you one. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. So we literally walked through. They gave us a sticker, I guess, to show we got one, gave it to us. Unfortunately, mine, they came in this sweet little bag. It wasn't like humidified or anything, but it was just enclosed and totally sealed. And I didn't open mine until I got back, but mine has a slight box press to it. So I was like, oh no, but I'm still really excited about smoking it.
It's a limited edition one. Just think
there you go. Yeah. It's funny. It's almost like the shark. It's like half box pressed and half wrapped. So I thought, well, that's cool. I'll figure that out. But I'll probably buy some next time we're at Franklin, or maybe off small batch or something like that. The Swamp Thing actually really kind of was amazing to me. I was not a big fan of the Kentucky Fire Cured.
Hmm.
I kind of prefer Sam Lucia's method of a quarter leaf rather than just overwhelming campfire taste.
Right.
And I really enjoyed the Candela wrapper on that. It had a little bit of the campfire, but it was more like the grassy notes. And I've smoked, I think, two of those so far, and I've enjoyed both of them. So that one I was not thinking I was going to love, but once I had one, I was like, I'm going to smoke this like now. I
Yeah.
got really fanboyish about it, and I smoked it that night on Thursday, and it was pretty solid. So that one was really cool. And then we met the folks from Dominican Big League Cigars. They were really amazing with their time. We met everybody in that booth. I mean, they were busy,
Hmm.
but they kind of walked us around and showed us some of their awesome packaging. Sereno Cigars was really cool. I haven't had any of their cigars yet, but I've got a couple now to try.
Hmm.
Obviously, the Cuba Roqueño is up there. I actually have not had Crux cigars yet,
Okay.
so they were really gracious. We caught them during a lull, basically, and they were really cool. They walked us through the whole brand. We got one of those IPCPR specials,
Hmm.
which I think is just a super cool idea. Um, they were kind of telling us, they've got a lot of history behind that brand
Hmm.
with being retail owners, and there was some talk about, how the show has changed and how show specials have changed. Everybody now is sending that stuff out way early and extending it late, and it seemed like they were really trying to get the show is the point of all this back in
Right.
it. And
Yep.
so they're actually not selling that cigar. They're giving it away with certain orders.
Hmm.
And then I thought that was really cool that we got a couple of those to smoke as well. So I'm really excited about the Crux stuff. Um, just a ton of different things. I'm looking forward to the new 1502 cigars. I really like a lot of their stuff. Enrique's got one new line and then some different sizes of the XO,
Hmm.
which I'm really looking forward to as well.
Nice.
It's
So
oh,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
No, go ahead.
It's what um what I get out of a lot of what you say in terms of your excitement to smoke post show and what you brought back is pretty much vast majority of the companies I just talked about is incredibly friendly to media, um,
Hmm.
and we were well received by pretty much all those guys that you named. So it's pretty neat to see, to hear from a fellow cigar geek first of all, and also being a part of the media of the similarities of what you're looking forward to and anticipating. So
And some of the best times that we had in the booths were cigars that I have no experience with or hadn't had. A couple of them I hadn't even heard of that I'm
Hmm.
just super excited because of how welcoming and gracious with their time that people were. I was really just amazed, and we felt I was really worried at first that I would want to get in there and meet everybody and talk to all these different people that I look up to and admire and whatnot, and that it just wouldn't be that kind of experience.
Hmm.
But like I said, a lot of the stuff that I'm really looking forward to are brands I wasn't even really familiar with. That I'm
Yeah.
just like, I can't wait to try these cigars. So
that's
that
one of the
was
best
really
things.
cool for
Yeah.
us.
That's one of the best things for me when I go to the show is finding out the little guys in which you may have just smoked a sample that they're just handing you, and then you go back and say, "Man, that was a really good cigar." We stopped by Cavalier Geneve,
Hmm.
um, and it was awesome. It was like Davidoff-esque almost, where it's just
Hmm.
full flavor, medium minus kind of a smoke, which is right on my alley. And those are the booths that I really enjoy talking to. One of my highlights for sure. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool to meet John Huber from Crown Heads and companies we were really familiar with and already smoke all their stuff anyway. But at the same time, we met like the guys from, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but it's Haram and Solomon.
I think it's,
Um,
yeah, Hiram and Solomon.
yeah, they have and I didn't get a lot of it. My dad understood more what they were saying, but they have kind of Masonic themes and Masonic elements,
Hmm.
and they were kind of explaining that to me. I was like, man, I have no idea what you're saying, but it sounds really cool,
Yeah.
and they were really awesome to us. There were just quite a few that really just had great passion and enthusiasm for their brand. And nobody had to do any of that. I mean, we had a few manufacturers that I don't know that they thought we were in the way, but I could tell they were just kind of wanting to more make sales than anything. And actually, we had a few folks that did not understand that we did not own a shop.
Right. That happens to everybody.
Yeah, it was amazing. We were going by, I won't mention names, but there were a few of them that we had to just finally walk away from because we were like, we do not own a shop. Like I don't know what we have to say to get this through to you, but they were just trying to sell us hundreds of things, and it's like I can't do it. So some of that was pretty funny too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those guys get in this super sales mode, and they don't look at badges or anything like that. They're just going to town, trying to get you to sign on the dotted line. So.
Yeah. Well, and even we were with Laura. She was taking pictures. I mean, it was all a very big. We explained everything up front. Hey, we do not own a shop. We're consumers here for this behind the scenes thing, and some of them they were in sale mode, like you said, and they were not getting out of it. So. That was a little bit fun. I mean, we had some good laughs about some stuff like that. There was one non-cigar company that my dad and I were like, these guys are crazy. Like, what are they?
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you get any massages while you were there?
My dad did, actually.
Okay, good.
There was I don't know the product. I actually didn't go to the booth. Something caught my eye, and I wandered off while he was talking to one of the guys, but they had the little electrode massage things.
Yep.
And he asked my dad, hey, have you ever had an electronic massage? And my dad was like, well, I've been tased before. Like, is it like that? And he said the guy was like, what are you talking about? Not knowing that he's law enforcement and whatnot. And so he was really cool about it. He let the guy do the thing. And when he first turned it on, he said, yeah, this feels exactly like being tased, just a much lower level. Yeah. And they were all about, well, we'll sell you this many for this much. And I saw Custom Ash at the time. They make the little siestas. I've followed them on Instagram for quite a while, little cigar rests and whatnot. They're all billet aluminum and everything, and I've followed them for years. I have a couple of their products, and I think when he was talking to them, I was like, oh, I'll be right back. And so I went over and talked to them a little bit, and I was into a few of the accessories. We really enjoyed the Zakar booth. I won't tell you what my idea is, just because I don't want another company to jump on it, but there is a certain product that they make that a certain wood would look amazing on, and I apparently had already asked our local rep. He remembered. He said, oh, you asked me that last year at West End, and so he got me in touch with the development guys, and we Googled what it was, and we're talking about all that, and they were like, we're going to send an email, to our development team, and see, we may want to make this happen. So they had me email them, that I was that guy. I was like, hey, if you want to send me a couple, I will test them out, and you may get them back. You never know. Yeah. Cool. And Bovita was really cool too. We talked to them a couple times about some different things and stuff like that too. I'm kind of a gear kind of guy. I like, having matching lighters and all that other stuff. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's always cool. Any other questions, Jiunn?
No, it's Ryan. We'll kind of leave this last little part. If there's anything that you like to put out to the folks out there that's watching, anything you'd like to say that we didn't cover?
Well, just mainly I wanted to just give, I've already told everybody, but a big, thank you to IPCPR for having the contest period, for picking us, giving this incredible experience to us. It was really amazing. Overwhelming was a word that I used. Probably more than once, and I know in one of my recaps that was a whole paragraph, was just overwhelming, just the word. But it was really amazing. Everybody at IPCPR was super cool. All the manufacturers were really, really good to us. I want to give a shout out to everybody on Instagram. I'm Fanatic, so that's FUHNAHTIK, and a big shout out to the Reddit R Cigars sub as well.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I think you were a very good first ambassador for this contest. So, pat yourself on the back or whatever you want to do to congratulate yourself and your dad. But yeah, meeting you guys was cool at the show. I know we chatted before the show, kind of, in a little bit of prep for what to expect and kind of try to give you a little bit of advice so you didn't get completely overwhelmed. But
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. A lot of
yeah.
people had good advice. I wore really comfortable shoes.
Hmm.
My dad actually was going to wear sandals, and we decided. I was like, you may not want to do that.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of laid back, so I can do sandals a lot. But
Right.
I knew we'd be walking a lot, and a lot of people up front were like, oh, that was really smart to wear,
Yep.
comfy shoes, and that was really good.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to to experience it. I thought it was a kind of a cool contest idea, and the fact that you won and kind of represented the way you did, I think was pretty cool. So, congratulations
Well, thanks. I
again to you.
appreciate it, guys.
Yep. So thank you guys for watching. If you're just catching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us, but also check out the website, developingpalates.com. Be sure to follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+. And big thanks again to Ryan. It was great having you on the show, spending some time with us. And it was kind of late for you compared to where we're at. And it was great meeting your dad. So next time you see your dad, tell him we said hi.
Yes.
Love to catch up with you guys next time we're all in the same area to have a cigar and spend a little bit more time. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. And I think Davidoff is on to something pretty good with this box press Nicaragua.
Yes.
That's legit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've got a good future in this industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so. All right, guys. Thank you again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next show.